Welcome to the Manifestation Babe podcast. My name is Catherine Zinkina, and I'm a manifestation expert, master mindset coach, and multiple seven-figure entrepreneur. I'm obsessed with helping you achieve everything that you once thought was impossible. If you're looking to massively up-level your life, your finances, your relationships, your productivity and success, then you have come to the right place. My goal in this podcast is to help you see the infinite potential within yourself to be, do, and have anything that your heart desires. Think of this podcast as your weekly dose of mindset development to help you maximize who you are and where you're going. Leave it to me to provide you with the tools, the resources, the strategies, and teachings that you need to manifest a reality wilder than your wildest dreams. I know we're about to have so much fun together, so thank you so much for pushing play today. And now let's begin. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Manifestation Babe podcast. So today's episode is going to be slightly different. I'm going to share with you guys an experience that I've been having for the last on and off year, but really in the last couple of weeks has this experience really heightened for me. So just to give a little bit of context before I dive into this rabbit hole, I posted on Instagram the other day a story of me at the gym talking about how I have recently been communicating with my unborn child, my unborn son who has not been conceived yet, not pregnant yet. I get asked every single day, are you pregnant? Are you pregnant? I am not. But soon to be. That is the plan. I won't give you guys any specifics of the timeline because I want to keep that for myself. I want to keep it energetically protected for now, but I promise you will know all the deets, everything. I'm so excited for this next chapter of my life, and you will know everything from the pregnancy journey to my birth journey to raising a child in the realm of manifestation, all that good stuff, conscious parenting. I mean, I'm so excited for everything, but I'm not there yet. So in my stories, I was talking about how I've been communicating with my unborn son recently and how it's really heightened to the point where he's kind of become one of my spirit guides. And he tells me every single day recently of, specifically what to do, how to take care of my body, how to eat, how to work out. It's been really, really fascinating. And so many of you are like, Catherine, how have you been doing this? Is this possible for me too? Oh my God, where'd you learn this? How do you know it's him? Like questions galore just popped up. So I was like, you know what? Let me just talk about my experience in a podcast instead of making some long drawn out post or long drawn out story. Podcasts are my favorite place to go long form with you guys. So let me just share a podcast episode on my experience of how I've been communicating with my unborn son. So I have always been someone who's been obsessed with people's happy moments. For as long as I can remember, I love, like more than anything, to go on YouTube. YouTube is like my home. I learned how to build a business on YouTube. I learned a lot of things on YouTube. I love following people on YouTube. Obviously started a YouTube channel, which if you have not yet subscribed, I started a personal YouTube channel. You can find the direct link through my bio on Instagram, at Manifestation Babe. Or if you just search Catherine Zinkina, it's the channel that's called Catherine Zinkina. Don't worry about all the old stuff that comes up from years and years ago of stuff that I was creating on YouTube beforehand. It's my most recent channel. I just started it a couple weeks ago. Super proud of it, super excited about it. And so YouTube is like one of my favorite places to be. For as long as I can remember, I just love watching people's like proposals, or I love watching pregnancy announcements. I love watching births. I love watching people's weddings. I don't even know these people, but it makes me so happy when other people are happy and living their best life and experiencing these moments of like a true representation of the best is yet to come. And of course, you guys can obviously already tell that that's what I do for a living. what I do for a living is I bring out the possibility for people. I show them that their happiest moments like that are possible for them too, that they deserve to be happy, that life gets to be this wonderful adventure. And so, just to give you guys some more context, like this is nothing weird. Like I've always watched births and pregnancy announcements. So it's never been anything that was directly connected to my desire to have children, because Brennan and I have always talked about how we would have kids when I'm 30 years old. And just to share, I'm 28 years old right now. And so this timeline of what I'm talking about, when I first started to get the baby fever, I was around 27 years old. So our plan was not to have kids for like another 3 years. And, that was something that I was in alignment with, he was in alignment with. But of course, I still watch the pregnancy videos and the births and stuff like that, because I'm such a curious person. And again, I love watching people's happy moments. So randomly last August, okay, we are now in what month is it? July 2021. So August of 2020, I just felt this shift overcome me out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, again, nothing out of the ordinary, but just my intention or just like my desire to watch the pregnancies and births out of nowhere was as if I was preparing myself to experience the same thing. It was almost like from an educational standpoint of like, oh my God, I feel like I should know what happens and what happens in the first trimester, what happens in the second trimester and the third, and what are my options? I started diving down the rabbit hole of documentaries like The Business of Being Born, which I highly recommend for everyone, regardless of whether you are a woman or a man, whether you're able to have children, not able to have children, whether you desire to have children, don't desire to have children, no matter what it is. It's just a fascinating documentary because I didn't know the history behind births and how we transitioned from society that really relied on midwives and home births and, being in the comfort of your own home to all of a sudden, most people experience hospital births now. And I just didn't know any of that history. So I was like, oh my God, this is so fascinating. This is awesome. And then I was doing a breathwork session around the same time last August, where I was just given this message of, Catherine, whether you try or don't try, which we were actively preventing and still are, whether you try or don't try, you will get pregnant by next October. Now, mind you, next October, I would be 28, 29, so we're still a little bit early. And I was like, this is so interesting. And of course, to match this message, my baby fever went into such high gear. And you guys probably witnessed it happen on Instagram because I openly shared my baby fever with all of you. I made some funny reels. I would talk about, my experience of like me really wanting a baby and actually feeling ready for one. But my husband kind of like being like, no, Catherine, this is messing up our timeline. Like, what are you doing? I thought we were on board, and we were on board. But, they talk about the biological clock, and all of a sudden something goes off and your it feels like the time is ticking and you just feel ready. And it's like an intuitive spiritual experience. So I was expressing this with my friends because I went and met my friends in Sedona last end of September to October. And my really good friend, Ashley Gordon, shout out Ashley Gordon, recommended the book Spirit Babies to me. And this book is all about how to communicate with your unborn child. And it's this man who actually knew that he was never going to have kids, but for some reason, his spiritual gifts, like his mediumship gifts, led him to specifically connect with unborn children and be able to help couples who were having a hard time conceiving or weren't sure if they wanted to conceive or anything like that, actually communicate with their spirit baby. And so when I read the book, I was like, whoa, okay, I didn't know I could do this. This is really cool. It never even entered my consciousness that I could actually communicate with an unborn child. And he talks about how all of us have this ability, and he shares, these meditations and practices and things like that. If you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, just know that he offers some exercises that you and your partner or you alone can do to communicate with your unborn child. So I thought to myself, whoa, this is cool. Let me ask my kids some questions, right? Because I knew I would have a kid eventually. And especially with the baby fever, I'm like, okay, I feel like there's a spirit baby around me. Like the presence feels so strong, but I never thought to communicate with it. So I read the book, and though I didn't actually follow the author's specific meditations that you could do, I still highly recommend this book, for anyone who's on a conception journey right now. And I'm sure the meditations and the exercises work. But for me, it was like, I didn't even need to do the meditations or exercises. For me, it just opened up the possibility that I could do this. And through that possibility and setting an intention of picking up on this ability, which honestly anyone can do, that is how my son, who is a spirit that has chosen to actually incarnate as a boy, but isn't 100% certain. So he's told me, like, I might be a girl, but I'm mostly going to be a boy. Like, I'm mostly decided that I'm going to be a boy. I could be a girl. But I call him for now my son. And, he's a he to me so far. He started to appear in my meditations. And again, I wasn't doing anything specific. It was just through the possibility and the intention of being like, whoa, I can do this, that I have already been, very attuned, opening up my psychic abilities. I am able to communicate with my guides, able to communicate with beings and stuff like that. All of a sudden, the very first time, I'll never forget, he looked just like me and Brennan, very cute. He showed up to me as a little 3-year-old, and I would just see him. And it's like I knew who he was on a soul level. I knew who he was here to come to be. I immediately knew how we were energetically connected, which is a whole deep story that I'm just not going to go into right now. But I just knew that he must incarnate, and he will incarnate soon. So of course, with this misalignment now in timelines, since then, Brennan and I have had many tough conversations on trying for this baby. We were like, okay, let's try towards April of 2021. And then April of 2021 came, and I didn't feel ready, and Brennan felt ready. And so it was like this kind of like, we were like leapfrogging each other in this like not desire, but just this readiness to have a baby. And though we, do have a chosen timeline right now that we both feel in alignment with, I'm definitely going to keep it a secret and all the discussions private for now. But we're finally at this place where both of us are like in alignment with this conception, right? So here's this new thing that's been happening. And again, this podcast, I'm not really teaching you guys anything. I just really want to share this because I know that you've been, especially for any one of you who have been listening to me for a long time, I've been taking you on this journey of life, with me. And so this is part of my journey now. And I just want this podcast to be kind of like an update. And this is what's happening in my life now. So this new thing that's been happening is lately, so we're now in July 2021, my son has been coming into my consciousness almost every single day in the last few weeks. And people ask me, Catherine, how do you know it's your son? Again, it's my intuition, right? I just know. My highest intuitive sense, my highest psychic sense is first and foremost claircognizance. Then I would say clairaudience, clairaudience, that's how you say it. And clairvoyance is my third. Okay. So sometimes I see flashes of visions. Most of the time I hear things, and the majority of the times I just know it. And I do typically hear, when I hear communication, a lot of people are like, Catherine, do you hear a voice? And I actually hear my own voice. So I don't know how many of you can relate to this if you are psychic or have this ability to communicate, very spiritually connected, and again, we all have this ability, but just some of us are more developed than others, depending on our intention, our desire, our readiness for it, our practice for it, and remembering of how to do it, because all kids are psychic. All kids are like essentially mediums. That's why a lot of kids are caught talking to imaginary friends, but they're not actually imaginary friends, you guys. Those are very real friends that your children are communicating with. And you were doing the same thing as a child, except most of us shut it down because we're taught that this isn't normal. So the way that I hear it is, it's my own voice but it's not my own style of communication. So it sounds like it's my own thoughts in my head, but the way it comes through, it's like, this is not my own thing that I made up. It's not coming from like a story that I'm telling myself. It's direct communication. It's very direct. It's very quick. It's very subconscious. It's just, I know that it's him. Okay. So literally he's been communicating with me recently, and he tells me exactly how to prepare my body for a future pregnancy. He calls me mom, which is so cool. Like I hear, mom, hey mom, by the way, blah, 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 blah. He calls Brennan dad, and he literally goes like, hey mom, can you eat like this? Can you please start taking these vitamins? Can you please start moving your body in this way? Can you prioritize exercise today? Hey mom, I think you need to go to the gym. You really need to move your body. Hey mom, you're going to be healthier if you do this. Hey mom, you need to work on your core, because your core is an important part of, working your pelvic floor and blah, blah, blah. And just like gives me all this advice and all this guidance. And it's been so cool. And especially my favorite one is, hey mom, can you have more sex so you can stay in the feminine energy I need to be in when I come in? And of course you can think, well, yeah, duh, like sex is required for the conception, but it's like, no, he doesn't want to be incarnated yet. Not at least for a few months, maybe up to a year. But he's like, mom, you need more sex right now. And it's just been so wild because it is so crystal clear. And it's been so exciting for me and so mind blowing, and just this new adventure of being like, wow, I cannot wait to meet this child, to see how much, especially when they grow older, how much of their personality I already know, and how in tune they are. And I know he's going to be a healer. He's going to be a trailblazer and a light worker and just all these exciting things. And so I don't know if any of you mamas have experienced this before, before your child's incarnation, or I'm sure I hear lots of stories about when people get pregnant, they open up this line of communication. They can just feel what their baby needs, and they have like certain cravings for certain foods that they know is actually their baby asking for those foods, or their baby is asking them to do certain things, and like being able to tune into your child's spirit. Like I definitely want to hear your stories. So if you want to tag me on Instagram and the Insta stories, you want to take a screenshot of this episode and just let me know what your story is, send me a DM, leave a comment. Like I would love to hear your stories. And if you're like, whoa, Catherine, I'm definitely interested in this. I didn't know this was possible. I didn't know how to do it before. I highly recommend you read the book Spirit Babies, and or you can also look up some people who can also help you psychically connect as well. I know that the author, I believe, has passed on since, but he has trained some people to do what he does. And I'm sure there's a lot of psychics, awesome energy readers, awesome connectors, Spirit Baby connectors who you can connect with to give you a session. So for example, I had a psychic session recently with a psychic named Kel Casey, who is unbelievably amazing. I was introduced to her through my friend Brandon Lucero. He said amazing things about her, and in just the community and the circle that I'm in, she's just highly recommended. So I connected with her. We did like a 2.5 hour Zoom session, or 3 hours, something super long. And she told me the exact same things I've been tuning into, down to the timeline of his conception. And it's just been like so mind blowing, because I always hear from, other psychics, Catherine, you are extremely psychic. You're extremely psychic. And I'm like, I don't fucking see it. And then to be able to be like, wait a second, everything you're telling me is not new. I already knew this deep down inside, claircognizantly, I already knew this, is just such amazing confirmation. So it's been really exciting for me. And yeah, I'd love to hear your stories. Let me know if you've had this experience. And if you want to know more, I will definitely link the book in the show notes. You can get it on, for Kindle. I don't know if there's an audiobook version. I just have it in the regular book version. I read it last October. And honestly, it's been really cool, because in the book, he doesn't just talk about communicating with, an unborn child that is conceived, and then you have that child, but also what it means to have a miscarriage. Because I know a lot of women struggle. I think like 1 in 4 women end up having a miscarriage or lose a child or something like that. Super devastating statistic. And what has brought me peace in terms of like having that fear, because I think that fear is very natural to have. It's very normal to have. It's common to have, especially, some of the stories that we hear, and perhaps we've experienced it ourselves or we know someone who's experienced it. He has such a mind-blowing perception of what it means when a baby miscarries, what happens to that soul, why that soul ended up miscarrying, and also if you have had an abortion or do have an abortion, what it means, in terms of that soul, like how they stay connected to you, or, what their karma was for that and what your karma was for that, and how your relationship was supposed to involve in this lifetime, and how, there really is no shame to feel. I think he really takes the shame out of everything that we experience in terms of pregnancies and conceptions and what we end up doing with the unborn child. So it's a really great book. I rave about it all the time. I recommend it to everyone. So I'm going to link that in the show notes. And again, if this episode resonated with you, if you have a story to share, I'd love to hear it. Take a screenshot of it, tag me at Manifestation Babe. Share this episode with anyone you know who could benefit from this. And I will see you in the next episode. Mwah. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you absolutely loved what you heard today, be sure to share it with me by leaving a review on iTunes so that I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't already following me on social media, come soak up the extra inspiration on Instagram by following at Manifestation Babe or visiting my website at manifestationbabe.com. I love and adore you so much and can't wait to connect with you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out there and manifest some magic.